Welcome to London City Council meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, clerk, could you please take the roll call?
Russell?
Present.
Peters?
Here.
Robinson?
Here.
Hayes?
Present.
Hitt?
Here.
Laser?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
All right, everyone's present this evening, and we've all received a copy of the minutes. Do you have any questions, corrections, or anything? All right, in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes carry. On to communications and announcements. We do not have any. Audience concerns. All right. We have just a couple this evening. We'll start with Michael Norman. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
All right, my name is Michael Norman. I live at 188 South Oak Street here in the great city of London, Ohio. I'm here tonight to make a statement and ask 2 questions. I'm here tonight to show my support of our law director's original recommendation that Ordinance 207-21 not be passed because it will not be able to be enforced. What I've handed to each of you is a packet. The first page of this packet has passages from the London, Ohio Sanctuary City Ordinance. The specific the specific passages that are in there are word for word the same as the Sanctuary City Ordinance that we have, or I'm sorry, that has been proposed to us. It also has the name and addresses of the local pharmacies there in Lebanon, Ohio, so that you can verify the information I'm about to give you for yourself. The next 4 pages of the packet is what's called a drug cost and availability information sheet. And what it has on there is the 2 most frequently abortion-inducing drugs used in the United States today. To save trees, I only printed these pages for 2 of the pharmacies down there, and that was Walgreens and CVS. And as you can see, both drugs are available for sale at those 2 locations. I can tell you that they're also available at the other 3, but I leave that to you to do your own research. And finally, if you look at the last 2 pages of this packet, it's a complaint that I filed with the City of Lebanon Police Department, informing them of the illegal activity that was going on at these local pharmacies. And here is where I feel the recommendation not to pass the ordinance by our city law director is validated, because what has happened since the complaint has been filed, has there been any arrest? The answer is no. Was there any confiscated illegal drugs from these pharmacies? Again, the answer is no. And then finally, were there any charges filed at all against anyone for anything? The answer is no. So this can only lead to one conclusion, and that conclusion is the Lebanon Police Department cannot enforce the Sanctuary City Ordinance that was passed over 4 months ago. Over 4 months ago it was passed. The same kind of sanctuary ordinance that we are trying to pass within the next couple of meetings. Now my question, the 2 that I have, the first one is, if passed, will Ordinance 207-21 be entirely effective and enforceable? And then the second part of the question is, when? If the answer is yes, when will that take effect? Will it be 30 days after it passes, 60 days after it passes, or will we have to wait until Roe and Wade is overturned?
You mean to answer? You mean to answer?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'd be 30 days. So when you're dealing with
So you're
these-
saying yes, it will be enforceable?
Correct. Just like in Lebanon, it's enforceable right now.
Okay.
So when you look at
can
these,
you tell me why then?
you gonna let me answer?
Yeah,
Thank you.
go ahead.
So the medications you're looking at also have other uses. Just like in the legislation, the mother, which, a woman that wants to kill her baby is not much of a mother, but that wants to murder her baby, she can get this medication. She cannot be held liable So if she gets a prescription in Lebanon, that is legal.
No,
You
not
understand?
according to not according to what it says
No,
here.
100% it is.
No,
It
it's
is.
not. It says right here.
I would encourage
abortion-
you to read the legislation.
I
A
have-
mother
right here, I have it,
cannot,
right here.
listen, I'm not going to argue with it.
Well, I know you're not.
I'm
because
giving you the
can't.
answer.
You really can't, because it says right here.
We're going to talk just one person at a time, please. It's Mr. Smith's
All right.
turn. You've had your turn, so let's let him have his turn. When he's finished, then you can interject.
on. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, my apologies, too. 'Cause I want to keep this civil. Per the legislation, the mother cannot be held liable. She can obtain this medication, go into her home in London, and legally perform an abortion in her home, per the legislation.
For the legislation.
Correct.
Okay, what I am not talking about the mother here. I'm talking about the people that are in possession and distributing this illegal drug. And you say, well, it's used for other things, but there is no exception in this clause. The clause specifically says these two drugs that are listed in these forms that I gave you, that this includes those drugs and any medication that is used for termination. There's no exception clause in there that says unless they're being prescribed for something else. Nowhere in does it say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
therefore, so I'm correct.
No, I'll answer it when you're done.
So it's saying right there, it's not given any leeway there. It's very specific. It says these two drugs are abortion-inducing drugs and are unlawful to be prescribed or distributed.
So I think what you're going to come down to is looking at the language in the legislation, okay? So if you want to get into another individual that would possess them for an abortion to be performed in London, they could be held liable for that. Now, as far as these companies go, when you look at the wording on the medication, just because it can induce an abortion does not mean that it is an abortion-inducing drug. The one medication deals with like blood pressure, the other one deals for things like ulcers. So just because it can be used to endorse an abortion does not mean that it is strictly an abortion-inducing drug.
Okay,
So it is still legal to be sold in Lebanon, just like the legislation, what you've said, has nothing to prove that it is not enforceable. The whole legislation is set up to operate in the laws of the state of Ohio and the United States of America, the federal laws.
So it's not enforceable then.
No, it is enforceable. If you performed an abortion on a woman, you would be arrested and you could be charged for that, okay? That is the most important part of it, is that makes it totally legal to have it and enforceable, is that it does not hold the mother liable.
Doesn't hold the mother. Okay, how
Correct.
about the husband that went to get the prescription for her, gets stopped by the police and has it in his possession? He
Most
is
of
now
that
in possession.
medication, from my understanding, has to be done through a prescription. You can't just
Exactly.
go up and get it. So if it is set up for the mother
Yes,
with her name, that would make it completely legal, because again, it would be doing a legal abortion with, that was being done by the mother.
even though it's in my possession and I went to get it for her.
If it is
That's what you're
labeled
saying.
for that mother, then that would be legal.
So if the person prescribing the medication, they're held liable. They
No,
could be held
no.
with charges.
If they are prescribing the abortion-inducing drug for the mother, that is legal. Because we cannot go against the federal, we can't go against the federal courts or the state courts. So by that, the mother can go to these places, get abortion-inducing drugs, nobody can be charged, and she can go home and have an abortion. That's
So-
how the legislation's set up.
So again, it goes back to, how are you enforcing this? If the person prescribing it cannot be convicted because he's prescribing it to the woman,
To the woman,
then
yes.
it makes it ineffective. You can't, if I'm
So-
the doctor and let me finish.
I
I'll let
said,
you
yeah, I
finish.
stopped.
So if I'm the doctor and I prescribe it and I'm in the city of Lebanon, which outlaws it, you just told Mr. Hitt, or Councilman Hitt, that I won't be charged for prescribing it. But that's talking two sides here.
No.
You're saying two different things. You're saying
No.
it's illegal, you cannot do this in our city, but if you do it, you know, as long as you do it for this woman, we can't convict you of doing it. That
So
doesn't
this
make sense.
legislation, okay, we have to operate within the laws that our city has the right, okay? Do I wish that we could make that illegal? Absolutely. This legislation is to help enforce that an abortion clinic would not be able to come into London, because then it would not be able to fulfill its duties for abortions.
Well, that's a whole
So-
different story.
Well, so just because right now, like I said, I have to, you know, we have to, as a city, we have to respect the federal and state laws and operate inside them. So therefore, that makes these things in the legislation legal. What it does, just like I explained, if someone comes into London and they're performing abortions, that is not legal, and the ones that would perform that abortion would be held liable, not the mother.
Okay, you say that, but what I need to see and what I need to hear is the practice. How is that going to be enforced? How are you going to go and handcuff someone and say, you know, you've broken the law? Because
Yeah.
you just said,
Not
again,
every abortion happens by these exact medications,
No, they
okay?
don't. I agree.
So that is a way that a mother can have a legal abortion, because again, we have to operate within state and federal laws, okay? The Constitution, Roe v. Wade, does not guarantee that in our city, we have to allow an abortion clinic to be here, okay? Saline is used to cause abortions, which is a chemical burn that kills the babies. The other one is mutilation. They start with the left leg, the left arm, the right arm, and the head, okay? So at this time, that is what we can legally stand up to, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay. And can I also ask, I've looked through our ordinance a lot, more than I probably should have. There's anything in the ordinance that I've been able to find, correct me if I'm wrong, that has to do with the zoning for bringing a clinic in? There's no zoning by?
No, not in this legislation.
So
Right, and
so
this-
when you say I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. And that's a good point, because there was some discussion too of possibly just changing the zoning, so to be sure something like that, a clinic like that may not come into the city. So there was discussion about that at one point, but that is not a part of this legislation.
Right. So, okay. Thank you.
Did you happen to check with the pharmacies here in London?
Oh, yeah,
that's
right
what
now, because obviously our ordinance isn't in effect, you can get, at all of our pharmacies, even Ernie's here in town, you can get these. Yes, I did check. So, and I also checked with our zoning, and as of right now, there's nothing in the zoning that says Planned Parenthood or an abortion clinic couldn't set up down the street. And I was informed that this ordinance will not change that, because the ordinance deals with services, zoning deals with the building. So that's something else you might want to
All right.
consider.
And from this discussion, we do want to keep in mind too that these medications are used for other purposes than just,
Diabetes.
yeah, because there medications, if you watch some of these commercials, there's a lot of side effects that lots of these medications can have. So we just want to keep that in mind as well. All right, next, we have Laura Lisi. Please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. My
Thank
name
you.
is Laura Lisi, and I'm at McClure Road, and I am in Lebanon. So it's pertinent that we're here tonight so I can speak on behalf of Warren County. And we and Mason are the only ones that are currently under this ordinance. And I know that Mr. Smith requested from our council members back in May, the day after we passed ours, he requested information of our council on how to go about doing this. So I know it wasn't brought to you by your citizens. I know it was brought to you by Mr. Smith. Texas wrote this. It was not written by anybody in London. It was written by Jonathan Mitchell, who just this week argued in front of the Supreme Court. So if you think this isn't for a court case, then I could refer you to him speaking on this subject this week in Texas about this law specifically. And our highest court of the land is still not determined about what this means, how it can be enforced, whether it is law, because currently Roe is on the books. So, but I will speak about Lebanon. It has brought huge divide to our community. The 4 council members, we had 7 council members. One resigned over the ordinance being brought. The other 6 voted unanimously. 3 were up and did not run again. It was too divisive. Yesterday, well, 2 days ago in Mason, there were 4 seats, and all 4 of those seats were turned at a huge upset in Mason. So there's political divide, there's town divide, and we have a huge financial divide. We have had calls to boycotts from day one. We've had, I have 3 kids who went to Ohio State and went through school, and there's a whole underground group of kids that are former Lebanites, and they have removed Lebanon from their resumes, from their LinkedIns, because they don't want to be associated with the town. And this is new. This is new for these Gen Xers, and these are, valuable brain trusts and things that don't want to be associated with the town that they grew up in and were educated in, and that's disappointing. I also want to clarify that Biden did not say he wanted abortions in every zip code. He said he wanted reproductive access, regardless of race, religion, creed, or zip code. He did not say he wanted an abortion clinic in every zip code. So I know there's a cute soundbite about that, but that is the actual thing he said, and I don't think any of us would not want that. We would all want health care in every zip code. There are also no late-term abortion performed in London where arms and legs are ripped out or skulls. That is a late-term abortion that is performed in a hospital, normally to save the mother's life. It is not an accurate statement. A fetus doesn't have arms or legs in a legal abortion in Ohio. Let's see, aid and abet. The husband in Lebanon, that medicine is considered contraband, and so you can be picked up, and the onus is on you financially to prove that. You'd be picked up in your car, and the onus is to defend yourself. It is not to say, oh, that's for my wife and that's legal here. It in Lebanon, if you have those abortifactants, you in fact can be picked up and prosecuted. We know for a fact that the police officers are not interested in doing it and will not enforce it. And that's what I believe was said to you sooner. Planned Parenthood did actually start up in Warren County because of this. So if you want to take Planned Parenthood out of this, don't bring it in, because they did actually start an action council, and it's very active, and it's growing by the hour. So if you don't want Planned Parenthood, then don't bring this, because you're going to see a bunch of activists. And then as far as the lawsuits, of all the cities, there were eight in Texas that were sued. And the talking points that Mark Lee Dixon will say is that they were all lost cases. Well, they weren't all lost. One city totally, completely took their ordinance off the books. The other 7, the language was rewritten and took Planned Parenthood and the word murder and some other things out of it, and they rewrote it. But the free legal that you're all offered for this, he's not in Ohio, so he brings in a law firm that you all don't vet, and your insurance won't allow, because an outside entity cannot represent you. You guys have to decide who represents you. So every single town that was sued incurred lawsuits. And the financial burden, and none of them used Jonathan Mitchell, and they were in Texas. Not one of the 8 suits that were brought used Jonathan Mitchell. The only time Jonathan Mitchell has been used in a lawsuit is to defend Mark Lee Dixon in a defamation case. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I do.
Okay.
Because I don't think I've ever said this to a citizen. That was a lot of misinformation,
Sure,
a lot. So let's discuss that.
sure.
So number one, Jonathan Mitchell did not go to the Supreme Court and argue this legislation.
He
This
absolutely
is,
did on Monday.
no, he did not.
Yes,
This
he
is
did.
completely different legislation than what they are arguing in the Supreme Court with the Texas law. It is not the same, okay? They deal with private citizens there's a legal, like I would say in a sense, a legal loophole that they're using. We are not
Bounty.
using that. This
Bounty.
legislation does not apply with what Jonathan Mitchell was arguing at the Supreme Court, okay? Excuse me. Did those seats that were lost, did they go to Democrats or Republicans?
Republicans.
That's right. So it was Republicans that held them, and Republicans still got them. So it did not turn seats.
4
did it?
seats.
Did they go to Democrats or Republicans?
They flipped from Republican to Republican.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, they
That's right.
ousted the people who brought it.
No, not necessarily, no.
Well, they
She
actually
lives there,
did.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Come on, yeah.
So the
Well-
people, so you're saying that the
Let's-
people who brought,
5 minutes.
four of the
minutes.
council people who brought the legislation were not voted for again?
4 of the people who brought the legislation, 2 voted for it.
Okay.
2 voted against it. The 2 that voted against it got removed
Okay,
by 2 other Republicans in a
Correct.
purple community,
right, okay,
backed by.
That was my question, but
backed
what
by
did I say?
Democrats.
okay.
I asked the question, they stayed Republicans,
But
okay?
they still got flipped.
Okay, well, that's not
Flip
what
meaning,
flipping is.
they lost their seats?
They did.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Technicality.
When the ACLU backed out, they did not need Jonathan Mitchell to represent those cities because the ACLU, 7 of them, the ACLU dropped and never even took them to
No,
court.
that's actually not true. The ACLU, all the ordinances were rewritten. I mean, I've been playing this game a long time.
I know.
The ACLU they named them Planned Parenthood and the ACLU and the Lilith Fund as murderers. And the language had to be totally recrafted, and each city actually had to defend themselves. So the costs were incurred in the city because of your liability insurance. Jonathan Mitchell cannot defer to you guys. He can't hire for you. You have to hire for yourself. It's a liability in your board and officers
Okay,
insurance, so.
okay,
But yes, they did not, I mean, these are the,
yeah.
I mean, I know you have Dixon's talking points. I have them too. I can read them. just-
Yeah, and that's great, and that's great.
Those are Dixon's talking points.
So-
I know facts, not talking points.
That's right. Well, I wish you would stick to that. I do. I wish that you would stick to the facts.
Well, I have my own. I don't have anybody else's language for me. I actually.
Well, I don't either.
Well, those
I
are
don't either.
Dixon's. I mean, I can pull them up verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you found on the
Okay,
website's fine.
okay, here's what we're gonna do. We've had the discussion, she's given us her information, you've given information as well. This legislation is still being discussed in detail in 2 other subcommittees that we have. So I don't think that this is the platform to go into the heavy details
I'm
of
just gonna
this.
say,
Yeah, but I do
We thank you.
thank you for coming here from Lebanon, Ohio, to give us insight on what could happen, if the legislation is passed, some of the backlash that we may not be aware of, that's a possibility.
the boycotts are huge.
Yeah, and that was mentioned in another meeting too, about the boycotts and everything. But we do 100% thank you for
Thank you.
traveling here and for giving us, a little more insight on, the results of what could happen if this legislation is passed.
And just
Because,
look at Texas, look at the
Yeah.
Supreme Court,
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Stephen Miller. Please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Stephen Miller, address is 225 Jenkinson, Ward 3. Basically, I have maybe 2 questions. We might not get to the second one. But the first question is, reading through the ordinance, the proposed ordinance and the amended ordinance. I read through it a couple times and then found that there was no, we had, I guess, an exception for women who
Yeah.
get the abortion. They're pretty much free and clear. They can do what they want. That's true. And then I noticed that there was an exception for Plan B. That,
Yes.
yeah, because that's an exception. But something I didn't notice was, or I did notice, was there was no exception for rape or incest. I know that Carla brought that up as a question. I didn't get the answer to Carla's question about, I believe your question was about rape, incest, or sexual assault and why, you know, basically, why are we not having an exception for that when there is these other two exceptions?
So I think as far as the rape and incest goes, you know, which as terrible as that is, and I wish there was much harsher crimes for rape and things like that.
Penalties.
So with the Plan B, I think from what my research, what I found, is that it's almost procedure, when you go into a rape case like that, that you would go into, you know, receiving Plan B. So again, though, if a woman is raped or incest, things like that, she cannot be charged. So there's nothing that, she's just like every other mother. She cannot face charges for the abortion.
Could the doctor face charges?
If he's in London, yes.
If he's in
So
London.
she would have to drive outside city limits,
Okay.
depending on, which I guess it would be, if Plan B, if there were failures, which I've heard is a possibility, eventually, yes. I wish there was a way to set everything up. The basis of the legislation is to stop abortions being used as birth control is what it's for.
Okay.
That's the way it's set up.
So you would agree there would be a chilling effect here in London for rape and incest, for an abortion after rape and incest?
I'm sorry.
Chilling effect, like it's a legal term, chilling, not necessarily chill.
Yeah. Right now, the legislation, that's how it's set up. If there was another way or something to put that in there that, you know, could have some legal standing, something like that, I would see that as a possibility, you know, putting that in there. But I don't think we're going to have an abortion clinic. I think if I did that, it would be misleading, because I don't think an abortion clinic is going to come to London just so they can perform abortions under rape and incest.
Okay. But I wouldn't be able to go to the hospital, like in an emergency situation.
Well, I don't think you can now.
Can't
Well,
do
if it's
that.
emergency life of the mother, of course you
Okay,
could.
so
yeah.
it's a hypothetical,
Right.
then. we're
Just to
talking
correct
about.
something, the state of Ohio does provide, has a law that provides sexually transmitted disease medication to a victim of sexual assault. It does not provide Plan B. Our hospital does not provide Plan B, and I'm a sexual assault nurse there.
Okay,
So that would be something you'd have to get on your own somewhere.
okay, so, okay. All right, well, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and next we have Samantha Davis. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Hi. My name's Samantha Davis. I live on Lebanon Road in Lebanon, Ohio. I'm here to ask you not to go forward with this abortion ban because I believe it's unconstitutional, not because of Roe v. Wade or anything with the Supreme Court, because of the Ohio Constitution. The Ohio Constitution gives cities that have charters a lot of leeway to make their own rules, except under Ohio Constitution, Article 18, Section 3, municipalities shall have the authority to exercise all powers of local self-government and to adopt and enforce within the limits of such local police, sanitary, or other similar regulations as are not in conflict with general laws. What are general laws, you might ask? General laws are the laws enacted by the state legislature. While there are no explanation given for what would be in conflict with Ohio laws, the courts have ruled on a few cases and have come to a general agreement on what is and isn't in conflict with general laws. Legalizing something that Ohio has said is illegal is in conflict, and vice versa. If Ohio doesn't say it's legal and you legalize it, or if Ohio doesn't say that it's illegal
Yeah.
and you do, then that's in conflict as well. Also, changing a penalty of an Ohio law from a felony to a misdemeanor is in conflict, and vice versa. If it's a misdemeanor in Ohio, but in your city it's a felony, it's in conflict. If it's a felony in Ohio, misdemeanor in your city, it's a conflict. Ohio has 5 sections on abortion that I believe would be in conflict with your ordinance. specifically the medication being contraband. One of the pills is legal in Ohio, so if you make it illegal and make it contraband, that's a conflict of law. Another thing is, those are all felonies, but your ordinance is going to be a misdemeanor. So your whole ordinance would be in conflict with general law of Ohio, which is unconstitutional. You guys can't do that. So it's going to open you up to lawsuits, if anyone actually pursues it. Another thing I noticed is that the London City Charter has a section 202.07, determination of legislative intent. A, in enacting an ordinance, it is presumed that 1, compliance with the constitutions of the state and of the United States is intended. My concern is this ban is not constitutional for the state and federal law. 2, the entire ordinance is intended to be effective. How will this ban be effective if there is no abortion providers within your city? This will not stop any abortions. 3, a just and reasonable result is intended. Can the results be considered just and reasonable if you're punishing a constitutional right of your citizens? And 4, a result feasible of execution is intended. This is a rhetorical question, just for you guys to sit and think on it. I'm not interested in a back and forth right now. How are you guys planning on enforcing this ban, and how are these methods, how is the enforcement feasible? We saw in Lebanon, they're not interested in enforcing this. They don't care. It's just kind of like, okay, that's what the city did, but they're not going to do anything about it. So are you guys going to be doing something about it? Is this actually following the federal law, the state law, and your city charter? Just some things to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
Just move on, we're fine.
Okay. One thing that I would say too is this proposed legislation here, and it has not been passed or anything, we are still discussing this in the public safety as well as the public, the finance committee. So it has not been decided 100% at all, but to me, and I did a little reading, and it seems to me like a lot of things in this legislation are similar to the heartbeat bill that DeWine brought, and that was passed, but the state itself has run into lots of different issues with that because of the conflict that it would have with Roe versus Wade. One of the things that I would, that concerns me is if Roe versus Wade is a constitutional right, and you take little pieces of legislation and you put it inside of the cities and you try to overturn constitutional rights, then what could possibly be next? Could the freedom of speech next with small pieces of legislation put together in cities, which then affects the state, which then goes national? Is it going to be the Second Amendment right to bear arms? Is that going to be one of the things next that's used by small parts to affect the whole? So, while we're considering this legislation, we definitely want to take a look at the larger picture. And it's going to be made of lots of smaller pictures. But if we're able to get together in municipalities who it would be really tough to enforce these different things, and even on a state level they're having issues with it, we need to, be really cautious as we proceed forward to, be sure of what the real outcome of some of these smaller pieces of legislation may actually be pointing to and leading to in the future. So that's all I have to say there. So we definitely thank everyone for your input tonight, and thank you for being civil and giving everyone a chance to talk. Thank you. All right. Next, on to our committee reports. We'll start with Mrs. Russell.
I have nothing to report except we have a finance meeting will be Monday, the 8th at 4:30. Amy, I think you got 3 o'clock on the.
I sent out an updated version, but it's
Did you?
4:30,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, but we'll be meeting Monday at 4:30.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Peters.
Public service meeting yesterday. Tammy brought to us, she's going to do some concrete work there at the pool, and some electrical work. Basketball's getting started on November 8th. Tryouts begin. I believe there's over 211 kids so far signed up. Volleyball ended as well. For street department, they've been quite busy. They did some repairs at Kelling Park. They've been working on trucks, prepping for winter time. They fixed a gate there at the landfill. They installed camera sensors there at Kenny and Lafayette Street for a new control box. They've been cleaning catch basins, dura patching, street sweeping, picking up yard waste. They've been mowing. They covered the splash pad there at the pool. They've also done some blacktop repairs as well. The next public service meeting will be just Wednesday, December 1st at 1 p.m.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Robinson?
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Hayes?
Don't have anything to report. Safety Committee meeting will be 5 o'clock Tuesday evening.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hitt?
I have nothing.
All right, Mrs. Blazer?
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Smith?
Just that the BPU meeting just with Thanksgiving was moved to the 22nd.
22nd? Okay. All right, thank you. On to city official reports. Do we?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay.
So we said finance is Monday, this coming Monday at 4:30.
4:30, yes.
Finance is at 4:30 on Monday, and then, Rich, when did you say safety was?
5 o'clock
On Tuesday.
on the
Okay.
9th.
Okay, just wanted to double check that. Well, good evening, thanks for coming out, everyone, and thanks to everyone for being civil. You know, there's some things going on, but everyone seemed to be as respectful as possible, and I appreciate that. I want to start off by thanking the community for their support of the City of London renewal levy. We did not market the levy very much, but we were able to pass it with almost 2/3 of the voters saying yes. So that's a strong win for the levy, so I appreciate everyone's support on that. And congratulations to everyone that won their election. And for those who didn't and maybe came up a bit short, I ask that you continue to stay active in our community. We need as many people as possible to be active and work together to meet all of our common goals. I'd like to apologize, but I will be unable to attend the next City Council meeting on November 18th. Every year I volunteer to be the live auctioneer for the Junior Achievement Wine and Women event. It's been on my schedule for a while as it was beautiful COVID. Last year it was an online event, so they're coming back in person and also going to do it with a little bit of online. So I always look forward to helping support junior achievement any way I can. I'm actually teaching junior achievement currently right now this week for kindergartners and first graders at St. Patrick's School. So back-to-back hours. All 5 days this week for first graders and kindergartners. The one thing that I learn every time I go and teach junior achievement is I don't think teachers get paid enough. I don't know what they all make, but just being in there an hour out of the day, whatever they make is definitely not enough. So, but I do want to urge everyone to support junior achievement. And if you have time, volunteer to teach a class or two. They're always looking for more people to teach the classes. Besides being very rewarding itself, it's a great program that teaches our kids some skills, a lot of skills about business and money and things like that, that they might not get otherwise. So if you are interested, you can just Google them, or on Facebook you can find them. The group we're under is Junior Achievement of the Mad River Region, so check them out. At the end of October, we brought in the JBEC group to put on a 4-day leadership and management training for our department heads and some of the city officials here in City Hall. This was a great training that I felt will make our city run better and be able to help us manage our departments better. It was very informative and a fun week, with the group learning a lot about ourselves, but also how to be a better leader and a better manager. I'd like to thank all those who participated It was very well received, and I believe everyone learned quite a bit. And I also want to thank JBEC Group for their wonderful training, helping us improve our skills to be better leaders. On October 29th, Reagan's Productions put on a Halloween costume concert where all the money raised is going to go with Shop with a Cop program for us. The event was at the fairgrounds, very well attended, and they were able to raise over $9,000. In the past Shop with a Cop fundraisers, Sergeant Cooper said they raise about $2,500 a year. So we were almost able to almost quadruple that amount in a one-night event. So that's going to make for some great holidays for some kids who really need it. So soon, the police department and sheriff's department will be getting a list of the children who need this service the most and taking them out to Walmart and seeing their faces when they're able to pick out Christmas presents is just amazing. So I do want to thank everyone, Corey Coburn, who runs Reagan's Productions, for coming up with this idea, all the volunteers, the organizers, the sponsors. There was a live auction, and a group got together and bought a Bluetooth speaker for $2,100 and then just donated it right back. And that was Tri-Green, Stiers, who builds homes, and 56 Auto. And they said, just give it back and auction it again. And we turned around and auctioned it again. And because they understood it was all for the kids, and that's how we were able to raise so much money out there. So, and thanks to everyone who came out. It was a fun night. The Reaganomics played, and it was just all around good night, and we were able to raise a lot of money and make a wonderful holiday season for some of the kids who need it in London. A couple weeks ago, I was honored by the Madison County Chamber of Commerce and was given the prestigious Bell Ringer Award. So this is one of the highest awards that's given out in the county, and I am truly humbled. I do want to thank the Chamber and their selection committee for recognizing me and giving me that award. It meant a lot to me. As Mr. Peters said, the London Parks and Recreation just completed their outdoor volleyball season, which was a great success. And now they're moving into youth basketball. And it looks like we are going to get back to pre-COVID numbers with participation. Mr. Peters said at that meeting we're at 211. We look to probably gain about 30 more, right? We always have the people who show up during tryouts and say, I want to sign up. So hopefully we can get almost 250 kids to come and participate in the basketball league. And tryouts are actually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so you still have time to sign your kids up for youth basketball if you'd like to play. It's a great league and a great fundamental learning league where the kids get to learn the basic fundamentals of basketball that will take them on. Now on to the MOLO Fun Fact, which is the number 7. At 7 p.m. tomorrow, the London Red Raider football team will be playing in their second playoff game at home. It's going to be a very tough matchup against Bishop Hartley. So if you have time, I ask that you come out and fill the stands to cheer on the team as they continue to make their march to the state championship. So the more people we can get in the stands, the louder it'll be, and the more support we give them, hopefully that'll give them that edge to get out there and win that game tomorrow. Real fast, I also want to congratulate the varsity volleyball team. They had a very successful season, and they ended up becoming the district runner-ups. And the Pride of London Marching Band, I want to wish them good luck because Sunday they're going to compete in the state competition. If you have time, Sunday morning at 9:30, they'll be leaving the high school, so they're going to have kind of a honk out, and you can go out there if you got time at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday and just wish them well as they go to their state championship. So, and that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we do not have any old business. On to new business. Ordinance 214-21. Motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 214-21, sponsored by Brenda Russell, an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of London, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31, 2022.
This is the first of 3 readings that we will have. It's the 2022 budget. We haven't had one since 2019, correct? And so what I suggest you do is print it, get a copy of it. There are increases. There's a different kind of terminology. Some of the names have been changed, just minor, like removing the word department from it. So just take a look at it, and there's some additions, some funds. One thing is good on our copy is they've got the fund number next to it, which does help out quite a bit. So within this week and during the 3 readings, just look over it, and if you have any questions, just feel free to call the office or talk to anyone, the mayor or to Rex, and they can verify any questions you have. They did assure me that they have, we ran into the problem with the pensions running short and the OPERS and the workers' comp and all of that, and we did have the union contract, so there will be increases in that. And all of that has been, taken care of to the best of their ability. We may have a few little niches, but not near as many as we did last year. And so I encourage you to, this is just the first reading, take a good look at it. If you got any questions, feel free to call the administrations, and they will, they'll talk to you about it, okay?
Was in general, was there just a across-the-board increase?
No, there's
Just-
not. I'll let Rex explain.
Basically,
Yeah.
we basically went through, checked all the department as far as wages and salaries are concerned. If a lot of the budgets were heavy in prior years, and we took their actual numbers, factored in the next year's raises, and if that budget was going to sustain it, we left it alone. There was just a few departments that we had to adjust the budget for salaries to be able to handle raises because they were a little closer than others. We also recalculated, as Brenda said, we recalculated pension expenses to make sure that they are in line with the budget, and also Medicare expenses are in line with the budget as far as salaries and pay is concerned. We also made sure that all loans that we have, that all those loans are referenced in the budget for next year. So we went through spot check. We really didn't mess with operating expenses. Everything seems to be in line. Everything's going good. We don't know of any kind of increases that are necessary in those, so we've left all those alone. So Ken and I went through, she went through looking at it, I went through looking at it, and then we got together, compared notes, and made all the changes to the budget.
All right. Any
Is-
other questions? Yes.
Is personal services, is that personnel? Is that what that means on the line item? It's got personal services.
Personal services would be your pay, your
Pays,
insurance,
salaries and
Okay.
taxes, or Medicare expenses, pension expenses, yeah.
So planning commission, zoning board don't get,
No.
don't get paid?
We do it out of the love of our heart for the city.
Okay, anything else? All right, on to roundtable. Start with Mr. Smith.
First thing I want to do, I believe your name was Laura. Laura, I want to apologize for what I said. That was very rude of me, and I don't want to have a ton, I'm embarrassed of that, and I wish I wouldn't have said that. I do thank everyone for coming out tonight, whether, you're for it or against it. We do want to hear ideas, and I think that should be what makes America one of the greatest countries is discussion of ideas. I guess I have to say, rest in peace to the Molo mustache. I don't know what that's all about. Somebody was just complimenting me, or not, was telling me about your mustache that was in my family or something, saw on Facebook, so I'll have to let them know. Yeah. And with some of the meetings were moved, and I just want to make sure that it's clear that I did not know about these meetings being moved. There has been no trying to move a participation or anything like that for changing of dates. I just found out about the one being moved just now, okay? So I just want that to be clear for safety and finance. And so the next meetings that this will be discussed in will be, so I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Finance is Monday at 4:30, Tuesday at 5 o'clock for safety. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Blazer?
I just want to say, thank you for coming out. You may see areas of this that we haven't seen, or we need to get personally more information. Like I've told everybody, I have not made up my mind about it because I'm struggling with, or not struggling with, but I'm just exploring personal feelings versus what I feel is best for the city. And I think my decision will have to be a combination of the two.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hitt.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out also and remaining civil, as Anthony said. It's a pretty heated topic, or could get pretty charged up, so I appreciate everyone staying civil. I also think it's important for people to be able to express their opinions. I know on the news the past year or two, you see a lot of freedom of speech or differing of opinions being shut down in various sources, so that's discouraging. So it's encouraging to see that we're able to remain civil here. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hayes.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Appreciate everything that was said tonight. I also want to thank you for being orderly. That's the best way to do things. I want to thank everybody that voted for me yesterday. I was very humbled with the vote, and I'm very thankful to be able to serve the City of London. I want to thank all city employees. They do a great job, and without them, I don't know where we'd be. Tomorrow night, I have the privilege of announcing this game, London Red Raiders versus Hartley. Can't say it enough. Get out there in the stands. We need to see 4,000 or 5,000 people out there tomorrow night, romping and rolling. These kids have worked hard this year, and I think they'll play a decent game tomorrow night. They've got a tough opponent, but I think London can beat them if they play their defense and play their offense like I'm capable of doing. They'll come out on top. Interesting discussions tonight. I want to thank all my council members. I love you all. I appreciate you all very much. I'll just end with saying, God bless the City of London.
Amen.
All right, thank you. Mr. Robinson.
I'll just echo what everyone else said. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Good luck to the Raiders. We can't forget our Little Red Raiders. They are in the championship game on Sunday at 7 p.m. against Chillicothe. So it's great to see those kids coming up, and hopefully be a Friday nighter. And they're leading themselves. So.
Eighth grade undefeated.
Yeah.
Eighth grade.
We got some
CBC, CBC champs. Eighth
Everybody
grade.
needs to get out and see the kids, and it's great.
Eighth grade Pat.
I know it's a good thing when I don't have time to go through every great team we have.
Well, you know, he lives across the street from me. I thought he'd at least get a shout out.
He's slipping.
All right, Mr. Peters.
Again, thanks everyone coming out. Really appreciate the input. And dread to red tomorrow night.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Michael, I'd really like to thank you because you really supported the levy. And, you know, you kept it on the website. Maybe that kind of kept it in front of people's face so that they did come out and vote for it. I want to thank our friends from Lebanon for coming up and sharing. And you know what, it's good to be nice. You know, God recognizes nice. He really recognizes nice, and to be able to have conversations on topics that you disagree on and have it done nicely. It just brings about, it's just a blessing. So I thank everybody, and I am partial to the eighth grade football team, number 31. They won the CBC, so the London Red Raider future is looking really good, looking really good. Go Big Red.
All right. And I'd like to thank everyone. Good to see everyone this evening. Also, congratulations to everyone in our election. And if you did not win, that just means maybe you just didn't win this time. You know, one of my unnamed friends in the Senate told me, he's like, you are in politics and you're running, you will lose. At some point, you'll lose, but don't give up. Just keep going. So I definitely say if you are still interested in being a part of the city in that way, then definitely, you know, keep your nose out there and keep your feet out there, keep your name out there, anything you can, keep it out there and be a part of the community. It's, you've already been on this side of it, and you know it's good to be able to make a difference in this way, so, all right.
Henry?
Well, yes.
Can I say one thing?
Okay.
Sorry. When meetings get changed for whatever reason, for conflicts of people that really need to be there, they're always, I put it on Facebook that the meeting's changed, but I know those get buried sometimes, but it's always on our website. You go under our government tab and meeting schedule, and they're changed there too. So if you're waiting for an upcoming meeting and you really want to go, just check that daily if you need to. Not trying to hide anything. You know, some people on Facebook say that we're, you know, when are the meetings and everything, so it's always on our website. It's the first place I update it, so check there if you are curious about when and where things are happening.
Right, and if there is a change in the meeting too, we do need to notify the media 24 hours ahead that the meeting has changed, so, and that's for all the meetings, correct? We need to let them know that too, so.
Yeah, the problem is that now we only have one newspaper.
Yeah.
It was nicer when the press was here, we could tell them they, the next day the press. But, yeah, we follow all the rules, getting public notice out there.
Right, because I know also too, they use online, so I'm not sure if they're able to post online immediately, and then the paper comes out a week later, you know, so I'm not sure exactly how all that works out.
And you can always call the office. I'll be happy to tell you.
Right. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.